Howdy folks, welcome back to Nomad Boatbuilding. I'm Mark Rudin, and in the last episode of building the Catalina Wherry, we got our quarter knees almost ready to go in. We've got a tiny bit more bit of woodwork to do, and then we're ready to start slapping some glue around. So let's get right into that. Alright, I got these as far as I feel like I need to take them in order to do the first glue up. Now I want to notch them for the inwales. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to clamp this block on here. I need this to just sort of act as a guide. So I'm going to spring a batten through here. I'll just clamp this batten to the other frames. And the purpose of the batten is just to make sure get this little extension fared in properly. So if I put a clamp on here, so now it's mimicking the path that the inwale will take, and I can't really spring it very far. It's enough to give me a line to follow. And now I basically have a limit of 3/4 of an inch, which is going to be my inwale thickness. Okay. Correct? That is correct. We'll do our best to cut that into place. I think I'll leave it a little bit rough and we'll fine tune it once the actual stringer is coming in. That should work fine. We'll come square down off the face. Okay, good. All right, I've got packing tape over this little area and in the corners here. I'm just using some G-Flex. I'm just going to start by just slopping some on. Slop it on. I mixed a little filleting blend and colloidal silicone with this. Probably should have taped some. In fact, maybe I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a little. I just noticed I dropped a drip there. I'm going to put some wax paper on my transom before I stick my knees in here. Now, just a reminder that we're only gluing these quarter knees to that transom brace at the moment. After the glue cures, we're going to pull the whole assembly out and fair it all together, and then we'll glue it all back in one unit. This is going to allow me to fair out the bottom side of it more effectively and avoid destroying the transom as I go through the fairing process. I've wetted out the inside of these knees, the back side of them. Okay. Just put a clamp on here. Come on, squeeze. I want just a little bit of knee showing up above the shear here, just a tiny bit. There's one spot that is, that is not squeezing out, which is annoying. That's down. It's good. Now, I didn't worry about fairing this one out nearly as much as the first one, just because I decided it was easier to just fair it all together afterwards. All right, that looks okay, I think. Okay, I think that's all we can do. Call that good. Putting little chamfers on things is, you know, it's by far my favorite detail. I know Joe actually prefers roundovers, but what can I say? It's kind of my signature. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. It's like asking Prince not to wear purple. We'll soften it up for Joe. We'll chamfer it up for me. I'm stopping short at the very end here just so that I can make sure I marry this in with the inwale that we put in. That feels pretty good. Okay. I think I'll work this in just a little bit more, soften it. Good. It still needs work in here, but that's part of the finished shaping process. There's enough done here that I can go ahead and varnish the bottom. And when I do the top, we'll bring the varnish around to this edge down here. This will be the break down here right at the back edge of the chamfer. That'll work out just fine. Admittedly, this next sequence probably should have been at the beginning of the last video. But you know, file management is not my strong point. But it's a topsy-turvy world. We'll survive. Alright, I've been playing around with the quarter knee area here, and I decided I should probably dial in my inwales before I totally finish up what's going on down here. And I came to a conclusion, and that is that I want to try and roll the attitude of these inwales in towards the stern. And the reason for that is, once I've got this lamination in here, I'd like the inwales to be meeting the lamination at about the same attitude. What I don't want to do is cut into the face of the lamination and expose all these rings. And so if I can tip this guy more or less into its finished angle and have it wrap around, I'll get this continuation of grain face here. But to make that work out properly back here, I need to change the attitude of the inwale. What I've done is I played around with this batten, twisting it into position, and with a square I've come up with an angle that's roughly squarish to this slope right here. Now I've got all the meat in the world for beveling off the backside, so that's easy. But it's beveling at the face of the veneers, the bent veneers, that I don't have a lot of wiggle room. So I've come up with an angle I like back here, and I'm going to leave them running square to the planking, or parallel to the planking, all the way through the rest of it. So it's just, we've got this transition period here. So this is all going to get sawn. I don't have to do much, but this one frame here is where things change. And so what I've done is I've taken this angle and I've split the difference between it and dead parallel to the planking and made this little block here. So in fact, I've made two blocks up. I've made one of them that I'm using to tweak the depth of the framing at each frame station. This is how much space I want between the inwale and the planking. I want it, it's a generous 3/4 of an inch, and that's going to make painting in here a lot easier. But back here, things are getting a little bit leaner. I'm going to let this taper in a little bit, but I also need to tip it. So I've split the difference between this angle and this angle, which is 0, and made this little block here. It's kind of got it chopped down a little bit, and it's got a taper cut onto the back side here that allows it to drop over that frame. So that's going to tell me how much to trim this frame back in order to make this twist as it comes through. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So this I don't really need anymore. I'm going to save this little wedge because this might be helpful. Just write save. Tuck that into my apron somewhere so I don't lose it. Of course, it'll fall out one of the holes in my apron, but at least I tried. And now using this guy, basically what I want to do is trim down this frame right along the face of this guy. So I'll come in here with a saw, and I'll take this haunch down further, and then we'll clean it up with a chisel and then with a sanding stick. That's done. I'll probably drop the depth of these. I've made them all a little bit shallow, knowing that I was going to get the inwale in here, get it bent into place, and then I was going to whittle it down until that inwale sat flush. So I've left myself a little bit of wiggle room. Now we'll use the parallel-sided guide block to trim up the other frame heads. Now this was a really simple bit of innovation, but it worked extremely well. And it's all surprising how much time you can save with just the simplest idea. And now we'll jump back into the time machine and go back to where we left off in the previous sequence. That's super annoying to try and clean up in there. That's it. Now I just got to get sloppy with the solvent and try and clean it all up. All right, there we go. That's all in. Well, that's it for the day. I'm calling it. Beer 30. Next episode, we're going to move on to the breast hook. So please join me again for that. And remember, these videos are made possible because of viewers like you supporting me on Patreon. So if you can join me on Patreon, I really appreciate that. Links in the corner or down in the description. Until next time, keep your stick on the ice.